The Mystery of BELICENA VILLCA. Fourth Book. The Story of Kurt von Superman. Chapter 5. I accepted then, to give enough time to my uncle to read the letter, without imagining what would derive from such concession. In first place, either if its lecture was effectuated conscientiously, or, very probable, the Spanish idiom avoided him, to capting the obscure concepts of BELICENA VILLCA faster, or, by any possible motive. The truth is, he recently concluded at the 10 days. But, in second place, the most irritant of the case is that during that time he locked himself in the room, refusing to go out, not even for a minute from the same. He delegated all the tasks of the ranch in his foreman Jose Toba, and ordered that the meal be served in a room by the old one. And my attempts to break this determination were vain. My notes had no answer, and I didn't achieve to penetrate the laconic loyalty of the old woman with my questions. In sum, I had to be patient and accept the strange behavior of my uncle. And, as if that wasn't enough for my frustration, without being able to advance much more, in the lecture of the fundamentals of the Hyperborean wisdom, due to the complexity of the matters that it treated, it was required, at least, a philosophical dictionary to comprehend with profundity the majority of these concepts, which were employed with great precision, and I ignored if my uncle possessed some type of copy, although it wouldn't be useful for me if it was written in German. Naturally, I didn't achieve to resolve the problem until my Uncle Kurt reappeared, and for then, the dictionary would not be necessary, because I would never enter to read the Book of Nimrod. The narration of Uncle Kurt, and the events that occurred later, prevented me inevitably to do so. The psychological effect that the letter produced in Uncle Kurt had to be very intense, because, as a result of its reading, he demonstrated then a very notable psychical change, undoubtedly a psychosomatic product of the received impression. With a few words, by the aspect that my uncle presented, he seemed to have regressed many years. In those 10 days, he was much younger, showed a positive and communicative character that I didn't know before. I suspect, and I don't believe to be very wrong, that the 33 years passed in Santa Maria had irritated his temperament, normally jovial, and caused that aloof and pessimistic personality that I warned when I arrived to the ranch. The personality of who don't trust too much anymore in the fulfillment of the God's designs, and waits resigned the resolution of the death. 33 are many years to wait in Catamaca. I comprehended that better than anyone, and I seemed to logic that the change was justified, even that it was predictably, each time that the letter of BELICENA VILLCA covered his expectations, postponed for many years. Because it was clear, because the same had confessed that his instructions for the post-war instructions of the gods obeyed him to remain in the same place, and that my arrival carrying the letter and the alleged and imminent druid's attack constituted proofs that such waiting had almost ended. In reality, Nif was the first that Uncle Kurt told me, confirming my presumptions. Is not the letter what have affected me up to an extreme that you can't imagine, but the mystery of BELICENA VILLCA, what was hidden behind her real existence, and that now unveils in front of us. From the letter, Nif, of its content, it is possible to assume a merely intellectual participation. But, of the mystery that the letter and the death of BELICENA set forth, and the mystery of the House of Tharsis, it is not possible to stay excluded without remaining out from the strategy of the gods. The mystery has reached to us. Here, Uncle Kurt, decidedly, was included in my adventure, and we can't, neither we must try to elude it. Now that the Kairos permits, it is necessary to reach to the end, till the T-Rettle Order, till Nimrod de Rosario, till Noida of Tharsis, and the Wise Sword, till the final battle. I assented with a gesture, still surprised by the firm and solitary attitude of my uncle. He continued, surprising me one more time. Look, Echiro, I've thought in these days, more than you can suppose, evaluating the occurred events, and calculating each step that must be realized in the future. through this global strategic analysis, that soon you'll have the opportunity to know in what consists. As I narrated the story of my life, I've drawn some conclusions that would be good to have in consideration. Above all, and just as I supposed since the beginning, I've checked that you're not prepared in nothing to face such mission. I wanted to protest, but Uncle Kurt lifted his hand in final form, and I decided to permit him to complete his exposition. Attend well, Nif. I didn't say that you were not capable to carry it out, but that you were not prepared yet to undertake the mission. But you'll be, very soon, if you comprehend my arguments and follow my instructions letter by letter. Therefore, the first that you must understand is that a mission like this is never initiated without previous detachment. I comprehend it, and you don't need to explain it to me, that such detachment is a state of spiritual consciousness that you experienced since the moment in which you threw yourself to this adventure. Right now you feel disconnected from the world, free from the material chains. But, I must tell you with realism, that such attitude is completely subjective, ingenuous, and obstructive to achieve the spiritual objective. An attitude that doesn't take in consideration the enemies that would try to prevent the fulfillment of the mission, enemies gifted with terrible powers, an absolute mobility, an attitude, at last, which is strategically suicidal. Because, is really disconnected from the world, who disposes to fulfill an spiritual mission, taking advantage of the period of vacations, who depends of the money to travel, that is limited, and that in some moment can be out of money, who underestimate the enemy, and leaves behind him, put of himself, weak points, that can be easily attacked and destroyed. It means, who travels without renouncing previously to the love for the things of the world, whatever it could be, the family, the properties, the friends, the habitual context where the daily routine is developed, etc. All possible targets of the enemy's attacks. No Nif, who compromises himself in such way, is pure and simple, a good man, but never a good warrior. He will never reach to comply with his mission. The enemy will stop him, hitting in his back, threatening, or destroying from outside, what he loves, that to what he is really connected, tied, or attached, even if he doesn't admit, or recognize it. I understood his point of view immediately, and I gave him the reason, in the act. In reality, I still remained attached to many things, and my journey could not have been more improvised. Nevertheless, it was a little time from which I disposed to decide my destiny. Rather, destiny decided for me, without giving me time to change, to wake up, to prepare myself, as Uncle Kurt pretended. All happened so fast. What should I do now? Is what I'd ask to my uncle. What else could I do in these circumstances, considering how the events occurred? I interrogated more for myself than for Uncle Kurt, trying to justify myself. It is true, I still have my job, but, is that I didn't think that could not return. And about the money, I am not rich and you know it, and I don't know really, how I'll do to obtain what I need if this adventure extends too much. The effective, in other hand, the love for my familiars and friends, I guess that I won't know until what point I dominate, but when I'll submit it to a test. With the heart, one never knows, Uncle Kurt. Yes, the reproaches are fair, but you must be the one who guide me in this moment, because, on the contrary, I'll have no other choice to continue in the same ingenuous manner as I began. Uncle Kurt was contemplating me pitifully, without doubts, admired to see the irresponsibility with which I was taking the things. According to him, the Druids were ferocious enemies, to whom we must fear not, but neither underestimate. I didn't fear them, and that was good. But, it seemed evident that I underestimated the enemy, that I didn't warn that I could be destroyed in any moment, that I was defying a powerful adversary without being prepared for it. I ignore, if my attitude reached then such grade of senselessness, but, Uncle Kurt, believed thus, and that was despairing him. Hence, that he started to consider me an inexperienced soldier, a soldier in instruction of his particular army, and instead of suggest, and discuss with me, what had to be done, he started to order the measures that in his opinion would have to be taken without dilation. You'll send immediately a set of telegrams, cancelling all your compromises. Renounce your job, your studies, the clubs, libraries or any other organism where you are linked in. Say goodbye to whom you have to, communicating him that you depart to a long journey. If you discourage their expectations to see you, they will forget you soon. If you have any type of property, name an attorney, someone that you don't know and vice, a law firm, for example, and order its liquidation. Proceed in the same manner with all what connects you with your old life. Cut off all the ties, erase all the traces, delete all the clues. It is not enough that you have died for yourself. You must die for the world as well. The money will not be a problem for now. I'll provide you the enough to carry out this mission. I've passed more than 30 years collecting money, and the day to use it has come. It is as yours as mine, Nif. Do you know that I testate in your name? Of course, my money resolves the problems by the moment, but it is not the definitive solution. I'll try, in the future, to teach you the operative tactics so that you can always obtain money or whatever you need. It's about techniques, methods for self-sufficiency, techniques that every Hyperborean initiate must know how to apply. Naturally, I did all what he had ordered me. I went carrying it out, while my convalescence endured, during the days in which Uncle Kurt narrated me his extraordinary story. Finally, the day in which we had to leave, nothing remained intact in Saltak of my previous life. All what I had done, in years of hard work, now was destroyed. Sooner or later, the Dr. Etrosetnil would be just a remembrance, and then, not even that would exist, possibility that exited to my uncle. I didn't want to think in the impression that such measures would cause to Dad and Mom, and Catalina, because my heart would loosen, and I feared that Uncle Kurt could notice it. In front of him, I wanted to seem stronger than I was. I wanted to calm him about my equilibrium and courage. I wanted to be at his height, to the level of his exigencies, because, almost without advertising it, I had begun to admire Uncle Kurt, to value his great aptitudes, to appreciate and comprehend him.